Thanks again for joining us today for our webinar. My name is Melissa and I'm a research scientist at Lingua Custodia. Today I'm going to present what's machine learning in about 15 minutes. So this is an informal presentation of machine learning. I will try to give some insights about what's machine learning and why do we need it. And I will finish this presentation by giving some example of machine learning applications at Lingua Custodia. So let's, for instance, consider the problem of recognizing handwritten digits. So we have several digits, 0, 1, 2, until 9, written by humans, and we would like to know to which number each digit corresponds to. It's actually a very hard task. It's actually very hard to write a program to solve this problem using traditional computer science, because we need to know all the rules defining all the digits. So for example, the number 7 can be written like this, or like this, and we have an infinite number of possibilities. And it's impossible to know all these possibilities and all these rules. And even if we know all these rules, the program might be very long and very complicated. So machine learning makes it possible to avoid those long and complicated programs. But before explaining how, I would like to cite one definition of machine learning by Arthur Samuel in 1959. So Arthur Samuel was a pioneer in machine learning, and he defined ML as the field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So what does that mean concretely? So let's go back to our previous handwritten digit example. So in machine learning, instead of writing a program by hand defining all the rules, defining all the digits, we need to collect a lot of examples for which we already know the correct answer. So what does that mean concretely? We need to collect a lot of examples, a lot of 0, a lot of 1, etc., until 9, for which we already know the correct number. And once we have collected all these examples, we will give them to the machine learning model that will produce a program that does the job automatically. So this step where we tell the machine learning model the correct answer for several examples is called the training step. And during this step, the machine learning model will learn, using all these examples, how to predict the correct answer for any new handwritten digit given as input. So this explains the previous definition of Arthur Samuel about the ability of machine learning to learn without being explicitly programmed. As here, we do not need to program all the rules defining all the digits, but we just need data. We just need data, and the machine learning model will use this data to do the job. So after this training step, the machine learning model will be able to predict the correct answer for any new handwritten digit given as input, as we can see here. So another important aspect is that the more training data you have here, the more powerful machine learning model will have. So it's very important to have enough data here. So machine learning is applied in several application domains, such as vision, including image classification, for example, to recognize images presenting a cat and images presenting a dog. And it's also used to help in medical diagnosis, for example, to predict whether an histology image presents a cancer or no. And another example of vision task would be image captioning in order to annotate images and videos. So let's consider the previous problem of dogs and cat image classification with more details. So during the training step, just like the previous example of handwritten digits, we need to give the machine learning model during training several labeled cat and dog images. So we will give the machine learning model during training several images of cat and dog for which we already know the correct answer. And during training, the machine learning model will learn here thousands and sometimes millions of parameters. So if we come with a new example, a new image, the machine learning model will be able to predict whether this image corresponds to a cat or to a dog. So another field where machine learning is widely applied is natural language processing, including machine translation, which is our expertise here at Lingua Custodia, but also other NLP tasks such as question answering or automatic text summarization. So let's focus more on machine translation as it's our main focus here at Lingua Custodia. And let's consider the task of building an English to French machine translation model. So during training, just like the previous example, we need to give the machine learning model several examples for which we already know the correct answer. So here we will give the machine learning model several English texts and their corresponding French translation. So here, the machine learning model used for machine translation and also for other NLP tasks are a sequence-to-sequence model, are called sequence-to-sequence models, and they contain two main components, an encoder in order to encode the input sequence, and the decoder in order to generate the translation. So the sequence-to-sequence model is a quite complicated neural network, as we can see here, where millions of parameters are learned during training in order to generate high quality translations. So we have several sequence-to-sequence model architectures, but the most popular one is the transformer architecture depicted in this figure. So here we can see the encoder with more details and the decoder with more details. I'm not going to explain the architecture of the transformer with a lot of details, as it's not the main focus of this presentation, but it's good to know that the transformer architecture is the new state of the art in machine translation and also other NLP tasks. And it's also, we use transformer in all our machine translation engines at Lingua Custodia. So despite the effectiveness of machine translation model, they still exhibit some weaknesses, so there are several challenges in machine translation, which are the main topics of several research work in the NLP community, including the research lab of Lingua Custodia. So one of these challenges include gender bias, as we can see in this example, where the word nurse is systematically translated as infirmière. But we have other challenges, such as the problem of long-term dependencies. This problem occurs when we have more than one sentence. Sometimes the machine translation models struggle to identify some dependencies between terms. For example, here, a dependency between car and the word eat. So another important challenge in machine translation is terminology control. In fact, when we work in domain-specific scenarios, such as finance, we would like to translate some term in a specific way. And we would like to respect the financial terminology. So let's consider, for example, this sentence in French that we would like to translate in English. So this sentence was extracted, this sentence is obviously from the financial domain. And we can see that it contains a fund name, some financial terms and financial acronyms. And we tried several generic engines to translate this sentence. So with the first generic engine, we obtain the following translation, and we observe several things. So first of all, we observe that the fund name was translated, which is quite bad, as in when we translate financial text, we would like to keep the fund name unchanged. We also observed that the term objectif de gestion was translated management objective. It's not bad, but it could be better according to the financial terminology. And we also observed that the French acronym, the financial acronym FCP, was not translated, which show that this generic engine do not really know the financial acronym. With the second, we tried the second generic engine, and we observed exactly the same thing. We observed that this engine do not know the financial terminology either, as the fund name is translated, and we observed that this engine do not know the financial acronyms, and it also translated the term objectif de gestion as management objective. So here at Lingua Custodia, it's very important for us to respect the financial terminology, as that's what makes us generate high quality translations. So with Lingua Custodia engine, we obtain the following translation. This translation, we can observe that this translation is much better than the previous one, and it is much more respectful to the toward the financial terminology. First, the fund name is not translated. The term objectif de gestion is translated investment objective, which is much better. And we also observe that this engine has a better understanding of financial acronyms, as FCP was translated as fund. So at the research lab of Lingua Custodia, we deal with several of these challenges, and we usually follow some steps. So for example, in order to, for terminology control, in order to have a powerful neural machine translation model with terminology control, we first perform a comparative study of all existing neural machine translation with term control published in the NLP literature. So then we assess the quality of all this this existing NMT model using the Bleu score. So for people who are not familiar with the Bleu score, it's a score that measures the correlation between the translated generated by the machine translation engines and the ground truth translated, which are usually human crafted. And after computing, in addition to computing the Bleu score, we also perform several human evaluation in order to assess the quality of all these NMT models. Then at the research lab, what we do is to develop new machine translation models which are better than existing approaches and push our best model into production. And finally, our objective is to publish our results in high-level NLP conferences such as ACL and EMNLP. So all these NLP challenges, including terminology control, are part of the SULT project, which is a joint project between Lingua Custodia, LIMSI, and DGA. So LIMSI is the computer science laboratory of Paris 11 University, and DGA is the Direction Générale de l'Armement. And the objective of the SULT project is to conduct research in several NLP challenges, including terminology control, but also other challenges such as the problem of terminology consistency and long-term dependencies at document level translation. And as part of this project, we will also investigate new evaluation methods. Thanks everyone for your attention, and you can follow our work at the Lingua Custodia Research Lab website here.